everyone, it's Mark again. Doing something a little different today. Working on this Tascam 388 Studio 8. This thing was brought to me somewhat taken apart condition. The complaint was that I guess the capstan motor wasn't running, and the guy that owns it exhausted his capabilities, so brought it to me. I decided a place to start with it would be because I don't really know anything about it other than the capstan motor didn't run. He bought a replacement motor but was unable to put it in, but we're not even really sure if the old one was bad or if the new one is good for that matter. But other than that, it supposedly worked. Some of the bulbs on the VU meters had burned out. So he said, just get it running, but if you want to go full steam ahead and replace all the burned out bulbs and give it a tune-up and do all the adjustments and everything, feel free. So that's what I'm going to do. So what I usually like to do when I get a piece of equipment like this that I don't know much about is take it all apart. And I've pulled out a whole bunch of boards that slide in here. I've got them all labeled and numbered, and what I'll do is I'll visually inspect each one, look for bulging capacitors, broken traces, physical damage, anything like that. After I'm done with that, I'll kind of blow them off, touch up any cold solder joints, whatever I have to do, clean the contacts, plug them all in. I got the VU meters out. I'm going to replace all the bulbs. There's 8 of these small meters. 6 of the 8 are still working. If I just replace the 2 that were out and put it back in, you'd turn it on and watch one of the other 6 go out. So I'm just going to replace all those. Yeah, and then basically just put it back together. I'll probably put the original capstan motor back in once I assuming I determine that still works. Presumably it will not work, but then I'll be able to troubleshoot it and figure out why it doesn't work. Apparently it's common that the fuses burn out on the power supply, and there's about 4 or 5 of them. And I checked the fuses that were in the machine and they were all good. So it's not a fuse this time. But I'm hoping it is just a power supply issue and nothing too involved. But the goal is to get it back together, get it working, and I've got a test tape on the way so I can adjust the speeds of the tape. I've got a PDF of the original repair manual, which is like 100 and some pages. Not about to print that out, but I downloaded it. I put it on the iPad on a PDF so I can flip through. It's not a very good scan, so it's kind of hard to read what you're supposed to be doing. But there is a whole procedure for hooking up, signal generator, putting a certain tone in, checking with an oscilloscope, and adjusting different trim pots. So I'm going to try to go through that as best I can. There's a few things I'm going to be unable to do because I don't have factory equipment I guess there's a tape for aligning the heads, and we don't have one of those. I did get a new belt, and I got the bulbs. We're gonna put this thing back together. All right, as you can see, I got all these slide-in cards back in. I just visually inspected each one. I found a few bad solder joints, but other than that, everything looked pretty good. I didn't see anything obvious. I sprayed some contact cleaner on the connectors before snapping them back in, and kind of put things back together so that I could focus my attention to the back. The main first hurdle I need to address is the motors. The motor wasn't turning, so he thought maybe it's a new motor, and he got a new motor, hadn't put it in yet. But I suspect the motor isn't the problem, but something driving it is. So I just grabbed a 9-volt battery. I don't even know what voltage this motor is supposed to be, probably more than 9 volts. But when I put on a 9-volt battery, it turns, and it's perfectly quiet, and it's nice and smooth. So I think this motor's fine. I'm gonna try to put it back in. I just need to lengthen some of the wires now because they've been cut and soldered back together and they don't reach anymore. And I also have a new belt. So, new motor, new belt, going in. All right, so I got the motor put back on, new leads for that, that's all hooked up. I got kind of most of these wires kind of routed out of the way. Then I just discovered 2 little leads flopping around into space. They go to either side on the board, supposed to go to a resistor, and right here there's a resistor that's mounted off the board because it's so large. So I assume that's it. I'm right now flipping through the schematic to make sure, but this doesn't appear to be attached to anything else, so I don't know what else it would be. I'm just gonna figure that out and probably solder that there, and I'm getting close to powering this up. Alright, well I don't have a tape to play in it, but I'm going to plug it in and at least see if lights come on and maybe I can get motors to turn. Alright, here goes. We've got lights. I suppose it won't let me play without a tape. Let me go find a tape. Alright, well I went in and got a couple reels, one that's been recorded and one that has, or one that's just a take up. I don't know if I threaded this right. It looks right. Also, these are recorded mono, left, right, 4 tracks, and this records 8 tracks, one direction. So it's not going to play. I'm not even going to try to hook up any speakers to it. I'm just trying to determine if the tape mechanism part is going to work. And I have a feeling it won't, because I haven't really done anything yet, and it didn't work before. But this is how we try. No, it didn't like that. It's doing something. So the big question is it broken, or do I just not know how to use it? Or is it both? Stay tuned to find out. Well, excuse the heater noise. It's about 0 degrees out, and we just got 6 inches of snow, and I have to go shovel. But I figured out I did thread this wrong. But it doesn't care. Okay, I'm supposed to press the load button. It's really embarrassing that I know how to fix things like this, but I don't know how to use them. Yeah, that didn't do it. I wonder if I'm having a problem with the brakes. Maybe the tape isn't able to turn because the brakes aren't coming off. Although I do hear lots of clicking. You'd think that's what that was. I think it's back to the drawing board. Okay, I figured it out. So no motors are turning. And that includes the capstan motor, but also I think these should be spinning. But all it does, you can hear the solenoid click as it pushes the capstan roller up and probably takes the brakes off. Yep, the brakes are working, the capstan solenoid is working, but none of the 3 motors are working, which is more promising than just one motor not working, because that means probably the power supply that drives them or something. Motors are expensive, power supplies are easy to fix. So I'm going to call it a night, but at least I know how to proceed tomorrow. Thanks for watching.